Well, it's been a while, but the Exiles are back on the ROKER Report. I'm Brett Lyons-Davis from Milton Keynes, and just like the lads, we are back for some pre-season training. We'll be talking about the Football League Salary Cap, the ingoings and outgoings on Wearside, and what everyone's thoughts are on the new Nike kits, and of course, playing away is back. First up with me this week, well, I've not been working all summer long, but he appears to be. He's not only sort of friends with every single 90s Sunderland player. It's Chris Wynn in Sheffield. Chris, how you doing?
Good evening, Brett. I'm not too bad, mate. Thank you. So that's a good introduction. I like that one.
I'll tell you what, you've been a busy boy over the summer, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty busy. Yeah, full-time job as well.
So just to sort of a recap, in case you missed any of Chris's pods so far, he's done, this is what's gone out. Paul Bracewell, John Ficklin, Dennis Smith, Gary Hours, Craig Russell, Jody Craddock. Who was your favourite?
Oh, come on. That's like getting us to choose between my kids. How am I supposed to do that? No, they were all absolutely fantastic. It's just great listening to them talking about, those days, and kind of when you get into it, just all the stories start coming out. And by the end, I think most kind of really enjoyed just talking about good memories and good games and, well, good times in the main as well. I mean, especially, when they've had a bit of success, they get really enthusiastic, and it's just good to hear. Hopefully, I mean, they'll go on and, they'll last a while, and kind of young fans can listen in and learn a bit about the history, and just really enjoying it.
No, it was great. They were really good to listen to. And to be fair, I could have asked that question slightly differently and said which was the worst one to do.
None of them have. They've all been an absolute pleasure. Enjoyed every single one. And there's, I think there's still, well, at the time we're recording this, I think there's still 5 on the back burner to come out. And I hope, fingers crossed, to have one this week as well.
Oh, good man. Look forward to hearing them. So, yeah, there's a couple of little specials there on the horizon. Let's listen out for those. Also with me, he's also got a little done an interview, but it's under wraps as well. I've got John Stacey in Lincoln. John, how you doing?
Hi, Brett. Yeah, I'm not so bad. I was going to say something about that, but since you've sort of made it sound really top secret, I'll not say a word. But yeah, I've done 1, and Chris has done about 50, so... we've both got full-time jobs. Chris is curing coronavirus. I'm not, but yeah, he's making us all look bad. So
he has been the hardest working man at the ROKER Report this summer, I must say. I've done nothing.
I think his missus probably hates him, but
yeah, something like that. Yeah, I'm in the doghouse now. Kids are getting a bath, so got out of that.
So then, John, how are you feeling then for like the upcoming football season? Are you? Because I'll be honest, I sort of, after our season got like squashed and just ended miserably, I couldn't get back into watching, like when the Premier League games come back on. I couldn't get into it. It wasn't, apart from I think maybe the Newcastle Man City Cup game, I never went out of my way to watch any football, but now I'm getting that little bit of excitement again. How are you finding? Were you sort of keeping abreast of it all, or?
Yeah, sort of when it's all started coming back, I was a bit like, yeah, I'm going to love this. I'm going to watch all the football. I'm going to always have it on, and I've really sort of not watched much at all. So yeah, I've kind of been a bit bad, really. I have watched a few games here and there and caught clips of stuff and caught up with match of the days like I used to, in the real world when things were normal. But yeah, apart from that, I've been pretty lax. And as far as looking forward to the new season goes, I think because of that and because of the sort of combination of lack of football stroke, all the drama going on with Sunderland in the sort of interim, I've kind of lost all desire for football. Like I kind of it's weird, and I'm sure people will agree with me, but when the kit came out, I think it sort of brought it back for me and made it real again that it's going to happen. There is a new season coming potentially, and one that we can actually watch league football in. So I'm sort of getting there. I wasn't excited. I was actually in a small sense dreading the fixtures even coming out, another League One season and all that with everything that happened last season. But yeah, no, I'm kind of looking forward to it now. I'm just and I'm sure we'll get onto it, but I'm just a bit, I guess, concerned, like most Sunderland fans are, about how we're looking, how we're shaping up. But yeah, I'm looking forward to footy at least.
I must admit, I had moments, especially like when the playoffs were and the League One, the Championships were like relegations. I kept kind of forgetting what the situation in the world was, and I was thinking, like, especially for me here in Milton Keynes, I thought, well, if Luton go down, that's a game I can go to next season, and if Wycombe and Oxford don't go up, that's 2 games next season, and Northampton, that's down the road for me. And then I kept thinking, we can't go to any games still. So it's like,
I kind of blocked all that out of my head, and then a friend of mine who I connected with on something I do for sort of extracurricular work said to me the other day, you support Sunderland, don't you? I says, yeah. He says, I'm a Plymouth Argyle fan. I can't wait to get up to the stage in my life. And of course, I'd completely forgotten bottom, they got promoted. So yeah, we're going to be playing Plymouth Argyle lads this season. And not only that, but he's buzzing about it. And he was a bit shocked that I wasn't so happy about it. So, yeah.
But let's jump into the matters at hand. So I'll just have a recap in case you've not sort of heard it. I'm sure everyone has by now that there's been a salary cap was voted in by the majority of the Football League teams. Now, this has limited League One teams to 2.5 million spend. That includes wages, bonuses, taxes, image rights, agents and other relevant fees. This reduces squad sizes down to 22, but although players aged 21 and under are exempt from the cap. Now, obviously this came out to sort of brought a lot of outrage, obviously, from a lot of Sunderland fans. The PFA have also sort of jumped in and said that it's unlawful and unenforceable. So it's not, although it was supposed to be voted in on Friday and start from then, it's a little bit muddied at the moment. But I'll jump to you first, Chris. What are your thoughts on the cap in hand as it stands if it was to go ahead?
Well, the whole concept of a salary cap, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think the Football League, especially in the times we're in and what's going on at the minute, I think they had to do something to help clubs. It's just the kind of time and, obviously us being down there. I mean, in an ideal world, we wouldn't be in this position where we've got to be subject to whatever salary cap they put in place. But my issue is with the salary cap is that the way the Football League have, they've presented it is that this is a sustainability thing. It's to sustain the Football League and keep the clubs afloat and to help the clubs. But my problem is that they've done a blanket salary cap across the board. Now, that's not sustainability. That's not thinking of, the size of the clubs and the different clubs you've got in there. That's not thinking about sustaining things. That's leveling the playing field. What's sustainable for Amazon isn't sustainable for the corner shop. If they'd said, look, we want to level the playing field, well, okay, but at least we know your reasons for doing it. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but it needs to be based on turnover or income or a percentage of that, because otherwise you're saying, right, everybody's the same, which isn't the same in football. I mean, I don't think they'd dare do this in the Premier League, because people would say, well, we're a bigger, better club. So, you don't want Liverpool, who stretches the globe and brings in hundreds of millions, if not billions, and then compare them to Burnley, who come up. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The only way around it is, the only thing, and it's quite a big thing really, because they've made a point of it, is that it doesn't include promotion bonus. So that's the only thing we can be really kind of, dangle that carrot in front of some players and say, look, if we go up, you can make some big money, because that's the only way we can work around it.
Well, that's you made some absolutely great points there. And as you say, the fact that you can do a promotion bonus on top, well, you'd like to think that your players want to get promoted anyway, but we all know money talks, don't we? So if that gives those players an extra 5% push, then that's surely got to be a good thing. John, where do you sit? I'll go straight to you. Where do you sit on this?
Yeah, I think just echo what Chris says, really, exactly the same feeling. It probably should have been based on club size, on club turnover, etc., and it should have been percentage of. But then I guess what they're looking at is a model of future-proofing the lower leagues. So like they probably do mean, it does level the playing field out a bit, and it does make it easier for smaller clubs to compete, and the bigger clubs that drop down don't sort of overwhelm. But for my sort of personal opinion, I don't think that's happened. I don't think they can justify that if that is the real reason they want to level the playing field, because you look at teams like Portsmouth and kind of a couple of others that have dropped down over the years, and they don't find it massively easy. They don't sweep up. They don't destroy teams because they're chucking money at it. We haven't done that. So, and that's arguable because that's lots of other reasons behind it. But, we were expected to, and it's completely, it seems like they haven't thought it through, and it seems like they haven't really justified their reasoning behind it very well. That being said, a salary cap in general and the perceptions of a salary cap is always going to be a positive for any league, but it's just unfortunate that the situation that the English Football League's in, especially with League One and League Two to an extent, you've got hundreds of years, and even if you're just taking eras of football, you've got to take into account 10 or 20 years of a history of a club to show where they're at right now. Now, what I mean by that is, if you look at the MLS, and I follow the MLS a little bit because I have a connection with a team over there, when they started the MLS, or when they sort of sort of made a big push to make it a big deal. They've had a salary cap from the start, and the way their player registration works is the players are registered to the MLS. They're not owned by a club, and they get paid a set wage regardless of who they are. And then they have designated players within that who can be paid whatever they want, but within that money, it still comes out of a pot. So you have like basically an overall salary for the year that you get to play with your squad with. And it does level the playing field, frankly, because even the bigger clubs in the MLS who've got a shed load of money, chuck loads of money at players like Zlatan and kind of Nani and people like that. But it's only one player. And Zlatan was at LA Galaxy and he didn't bring them success. You know, other teams have had massive players and they don't get success. So it doesn't buy them success. It actually encourages homegrown talent. It encourages a lot of local talent. So they find a lot of loopholes in the MLS for South American players and stuff like that. Now, you could argue that's a negative to the MLS being an American league. But from our standpoint, if we're looking at a salary cap, and I'm sure other people have commented on this in different articles that are out there, it can be a massive positive for our youth system and a massive positive for grassroots football leading right the way up to international football. You know, we constantly debate the fact that the England team's stifled by the fact that we have a lot of foreign imports and a lot of people have paid a lot of money to almost stop our players from progressing. So in the lower leagues, that's not really an argument, but it's also kind of something that works, if that makes sense. So hopefully we could develop more of our youth system, which we've decimated in the last few months. So don't know where I'm getting at with that, but for the future, it could be a really good thing if it's done properly. I don't know. Hopefully it'll encourage positives. I'm trying to remain positive about it. I guess the one big main positive is that I think there was some sort of line in there, wasn't there, where they said that for this season, whoever was paid over, well over the threshold, they would just count as top of the threshold. So, if someone's on 20k a week, they're only going to essentially take up whatever the max wage is in the threshold, so until their contract ends, which I think is good. But we're not going to have many players in that boat. We've got rid of Watmore, the ones that are big earners, we've not got many of them left now. So yeah, it swings and roundabouts. We'll see how it goes.
The problem is, John, you were talking about the MLS there, and my problem is that, and I mentioned the Premier League before, because they're talking about introducing a cap in the Championship of around 18 million and then 2.5 million in League One, and then I think, was it 1 million in League Two, I think it was?
Yeah, 1.5.
1.5, yeah.
So, if you, the problem is, if you're doing that, even without the salary cap, look at the gap between the Championship and the Premier League.
Yeah.
Now, now what you're doing is you're creating a breakaway league within the English football structure, which is insane. You're talking about the MLS, but it's not like the Central Division has got, you can only play players such and such, and then the Eastern can pay them, whatever they want, because then that would be unfair competition. And
I guess my point with the MLS was they did that at the start. We haven't done this at the start. This is coming out of nowhere, and this has come in, like you say, with massive discrepancies, massive differences between leagues. So that 18 million to 2.5 Championship to League One, that's just one very small example of the gulf between the leagues, and that's just in revenues and money that flies around. That's without even thinking about the Premier League, but the Championship has flown up with the amount of money that's in the Championship now. You've got players coming from, top teams in Europe to play in the Championship because they know they're going to get paid, a lot more money than they would where they are, despite the fact they're not even in the Premier League, So it's, no, I take your point. It wasn't that I was justifying it. It was more a case of it's a good premise. It's just, it's wrong timing, and it's kind of in a situation where you're playing a game of something that works elsewhere that won't work here because of the fact that most of the clubs and most of the teams that are involved in it all have pedigree and history and different sort of parameters in place already, which are going to be massively affected by a salary cap. So, and going back to your point at the very, very start of what you said, the biggest, I was listening to it then, and when you were saying it, I was thinking, the level in the playing field, effectively, what they're doing is they're bringing a salary cap and they're saying it's for fairness, but actually quite a lot of clubs are going to go under because of the salary cap. They're going to fail because of the salary cap. They're not going to be able to sustain because of the salary cap. Because if you think of the fines that are going to come in, you think of the risks that people are going to have to take, you're thinking of, you can justify certain clubs can spend to accumulate knowing they're going to get, say, to playoff level. Well, they've got no chance of speculating anymore. Do you know what I mean? So they've got to take a lot more risks. And I just think the smaller clubs will really struggle. Despite the fact they're going to be well under the salary cap, they still won't be able to compete eventually because any of the better players, they'd normally get up for the smaller wages. They'll go to the bigger clubs. So it's actually going to be quite detrimental to the teams they're trying to help, if that makes sense.
I think the EFL have brought it in to try and I think they've done it at such sort of speed and that therefore not being thought through. It's because they want to try and avoid another Bury happening. They don't want teams to go bust on their watch at the end of the day, because it does look shockingly bad on them.
But that doesn't stop that though, Brett, because
I'm not agreeing with it. I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just that was my opinion why I think they've brought it in so quickly and how they've done it. They've known that because of this coronavirus new world we're going to be living in the next sort of 12 to 18 months,
they can justify.
They can try and justify doing it that way. I'm going to throw a little span in the works because I noticed I was reading the ROKER Report article this morning on it, and I saw Rich Spate from the Exiles pod did actually write a piece on it, as a few of the other guys did as well. And I've sort of put it like a bit of a question to you though, to you both. If it goes ahead and we do it, will it help Sunderland become more streamlined? Will it help us then attract like the younger players? Although like we've now completely sabotaged our own academy, will it basically encourage us to get those younger players and keep hold of them?
Well, I mean, what stopped us from doing that before? I mean, that's how you structure a football club. Firstly, you're smart about your transfers. You do that based on good scouting. You do that on a good structure, a good system, good people who know what they're doing. And you bring in people. You don't go, oh, Will Gregg, look at that. How much? Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, we'll have him. He's bound to score. You look at how your team plays, and he never fit into what Jack Ross wanted to do. He was never in that philosophy. He was never going to fit into that team. And now we're trying to kind of square pegs and round holes and all that sort of stuff. But if it stops that from happening, which it should do now, because we can't just go out and say, oh, look at him, he's got a good record, even though he won't fit, he's bound to still do well. So we've now got to think about it properly. And the argument is, I've heard a lot of people say that over the last couple of days. Oh, we've got to really be smart now. Well, what was stopping us from being smart before? and I mean, again, you talk about the academy. We've got two massive names in there. The two Jordans, fantastic, and we've brought some good players through who we've sold. Actually, like say, you forget about the Martin Waghorns and people like that who sell for a few million. I mean, that's good business. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, lately in League One, last couple of years, like I remember us all saying when we went down, we said, "Oh, we're in League One now. This is time to get the youngsters in. We've got a few at the academy. Get them
definitely
in."
Said that.
And where are they? I mean, Denver Hugh come in. Embleton's had a few games. Look at Robson. He's left now. He should have had a few more games. I mean, they've all getting the odd chance in the Checker Trade or what leasing.com or whatever it's called now, and that's it. They've disappeared and they've never to be seen again. Never given a few runs. Benji Kimpioga's still deciding what he wants to do. So I mean, yes, the answer to your question, I think, is yes, we should be doing that. But why haven't we been doing that before? I mean,
I think the other thing to consider is what will probably happen a lot now is it'll become a little bit like a computer game, a bit like Football Manager. You'll have contracts offered where the promotion clause will be like, you'll get the salary cap maximum in League One, but if we get promoted, you'll get 10 times as much in the Championship. Then you'll also get clauses that are new, like if we don't get promoted, we'll allow you to go for free. And it's like, there's going to be a lot of risk in that as well. So yeah, interesting, fun, but it really should enable people with decent youth systems to really fly. Are there many of those teams in our league? That we're definitely not one of them at the minute, but surely we can start attracting young players now. I don't know, it's one of those things, isn't it? But somebody made the decision, to answer your question why we didn't do it already, Chris, because somebody made the decision that they weren't good enough, all these players that have gone to Man United and like Chelsea and things like that. It's like, come on lads, Paul Reed or whoever it was that was in charge who signed off on that, Jesus Christ.
Well, that was the point I was going to make, actually, that I don't know whether you mentioned it at the start when you brought this in, Brett, but I mean, at the minute, we've got nobody at the club. You'd say, no, let's be clever about all this. Mm-hmm. At the minute, it's Phil Parkinson. And the thing is, with the situation he's in, with funds, and he's got nobody to help him at the club. There's literally nobody. I mean, he's got Rodwell to maybe help him, maybe get the deals, but it's him who's saying, I want this player, I want that player. So he's got to go with what he knows. and he hasn't got a scout saying, "Oh, I saw someone in the National League the other way, whenever the league was still playing back in February or whatever, and his last few games were brilliant and all this sort of stuff." He hasn't got that. He hasn't got that structure. He's got nobody in there to say, "Look at this list of players we've scouted, and he played X amount of games and all this sort of stuff." So he's on his own at the moment, and every player that walks through the door at the minute is a Phil Parkinson signing, because it has to be. There's nobody else there.
Yeah. Well, you've actually taken me on very nicely there, Chris, to what I was going to actually bring up next, and that is incomings and outgoings so far for this season. Now, as it stands, the season starts September the 12th, so we're just literally, it's a month away, isn't it? It's the 10th of August today, so we've got 1 month to go. We've brought in so far Bailey Wright, who obviously we had last season, was very good when he came in, very successful, was cut short by injury, and we also brought in Aidan O'Brien from Millwall. We are very, very short as a team at the moment. We have lost a lot of players. George, well, I'll tell you, we've lost so far. Since our last game, our 2-0 defeat away to Bristol Rovers, we've actually lost McLaughlin, Ozturk, Lafferty, Semenyo and Joel Lynch, all from that squad. So already there's sort of 5 players there that were short. John, I'll start with you as I've got the face on. Where do we need improving in this season? Because as it stands, we've got a very, very small squad.
Everywhere but centre mid, by the looks of it. I think that's the short answer. We've got about 4 or 5 centre mids. We've got potentially 2 right backs if you class Conor McLaughlin as any good. I've backed him a lot, but Luca Nine's pretty much got that in his pocket, that position. We've got 3 centre backs. Parky wants to play 3 at the back. We've got Brandon Taylor, who signed a new deal, but untried at this level, I guess. So we haven't got any backup centre backs if you don't consider Brandon Taylor as a backup. We've got Denver Hugh across the left. We haven't got a backup goalie. I know we're in the market for a goalie and potentially Luke Garbutt on the left, but they're not signed yet. Maybe give Patterson a run rather than splashing money or getting a loan in as a backup goalie, because he's highly sought after and he's another youth product. Or let's just sell him to Man United for 200 grand or something. It's another idea.
Fix a lift.
Yeah, and then midfield wise, we're all right, I think. But then up front, up top, I guess we've lost Watmore, although he didn't contribute a lot. Semenyo was obviously on loan and a good sort of super sub kind of thing at times, running about and creating a bit of tension. But yeah, we've got Gooch, Maguire, Embleton, Aidan O'Brien, and I don't want to name the 2 strikers that we've got because I don't think either of them are worth their socks. So really, potentially, if you're thinking about it, you've got some decent centre midfielders, 2 or 3 decent centre midfielders, League One level, if not better, maybe 4, depending on how you feel about them on the day, and then a back 3 that needs backup, and the rest just extra backup or people challenging for places. If we get 2 or 3 injuries, like literally just 2 or 3 injuries, I don't know who we haven't even got youth players to bring in. Do you know what I mean? So in short, taking it all the way back, if you want to cut all of that I've just said out, you could just have the words everywhere. We need to improve everywhere except centre mid.
Yeah. I had goalkeeper, centre half, right and left, wing back if that's what he's playing, and up front. So exactly the same. But it'll be interesting to see what he wants to play next season, because it'll be interesting to see, was he playing that formation because that's what he thought he had within the squad and that's what he knew, so that's what he coached because he came in, and obviously we had that dodgy period when he first came in, and was that to kind of shore up the back, get 3 in there, make us solid and kind of play from there? Or will he go in, he's had a summer behind him, he can try and go in with what he wants and he can bring in the players in the positions that he thinks is strengthening? Because we mentioned the 2 who won't be mentioned up front. I mean, it was just so frustrating the way he played with White last season, and White looked lost at times when he had the ball, but the problem was he looked lost off the ball because he was so isolated 20-30 yards away from anyone else that quite often he didn't really stand a chance when the ball went up to him. I know he didn't do particularly well when the ball actually did come to his feet, but And then the question about Greg. So, I mean, this Aidan O'Brien signing's a bit of a strange one because he's been played wide most of his career, when a lot of Millwall fans have said, he wasn't given his go up top. So is this maybe the sign of a kind of maybe a big man, little man up front? I don't know. I might be clutching at straws, but I just hope he does something different, because another season of White up front chasing down awful balls. I don't know. I don't know if I can put up with that.
I think White looked like he could be part of a team. I'm not going to say look good because it's impossible to say look good. But when he was at his best or looking like he was worth his socks, he wasn't scoring. But it was when that formation started to work a little bit, where he had Maguire and Gooch kind of right behind him rather than wide. And yes, they were getting wide, but they were also kind of overloading with the centre backs and the wing backs, so they could come further in. And they were sort of supporting White. White was dropping deep half the time, and most of the time Gooch and Maguire were ahead of him. And you don't need him there because he's not great there anyway. But what he kind of did was take defenders away, so it created a gap for them to bomb on and do sort of their magic. And my thoughts when we bought Aidan O'Brien was that's another one to do that. So if we are going to persist with White and give him a chance, he would be dropping deep and Aidan O'Brien would be bombing on with the other two. He's strong. He's got a bit of pace. He likes the ball at his feet.
Yeah.
You know, arguably get him the ball or get him a second ball, and he could do a bit of what Lafferty was trying to do, but didn't have the fitness or the agility to do it when he was coming on and they were playing him like as a second striker with Wyke, and he was kind of trying to sort of take people on and play the balls and stuff like that. You know, maybe that's the reasoning behind the Aidan O'Brien sign. I don't know.
Yeah, but Parkinson was bringing Lafferty on just in the hope that one would bounce off his arse and hopefully creep into the corner. But I mean, you've just kind of said the point, you know, that I don't think I said very well, where when White was isolated and, you know, nobody within 20 yards, but he's that sort of striker that if you do knock balls that aren't, you know, 10 yards to his right or 10 yards to his left where he's got no chance, get it into his feet and get players around him, and get, even if O'Brien or someone with a bit of pace, which we've been crying out for about 10 years, can get in behind him. White's the type that even if it bounces off him, even if he's awkward, but he's that person who can stop the defender bringing it down or whatever. But you get players within 10 yards of him, and that's the problem. That when we were playing it last season, and you said he looked all right when there was players around him, I mean, that was probably about 10% of the time because there was such a gap between our midfield and where White was standing. And it just never worked. And unless we get a system where we get the ball up there, you know, it doesn't have to be too quickly. It just needs to be timed right when there's a player either side of him, and he can provide other players with a bit of space.
Yeah, I agree.
One thing I find interesting with these Aidan O'Brien comments, especially from the Millwall fans, saying that they say he should be a striker, so he's been playing on the left. It reminds me a little bit of when we had Wickham for us, where he never ever seemed to get a go up front until that sort of the miracle season when he sort of kept up Gus Poyet and he sort of had to go up front. It strikes me in that kind of player, and hopefully, if I heard him mention on one of the pods the other day that if he does actually get that position instead of Wyke, he's got a point to prove, and we might actually have a goal scorer that we're sort of crying out for more than anything else. Because I think the one thing that team needed last season was goals, and that's, you know, we just didn't score enough goals at all. So you know, if he's, per se, it'd be interesting to see where he actually decides to play him come September the 12th.
I think if I was him, and I'd been playing far on the wide, on the line, on the byline, getting crosses in for whoever's up front for them and stuff. I think even if I was playing in that whole role behind Wyke or behind someone, I'd be happy with that because it gives him more of the ball, gives him more of a chance, gives him more of an opportunity to bang a few shots in. So I think it'd be really interesting. It's probably the only thing I'm really keen on, interested in seeing Sunderland playing so far. Till we buy loads of new players, I don't know. You know, never know.
But yeah, I mean, I think he's probably had a bit of interest from the Championship as well. So I'm sure that Parkinson, in all the spiel to get him to come to Sunderland, he said, look, you know, you're at that stage of your career. You've had tenure, or I think maybe a bit more at Millwall. What do you want to do? And I'm sure he said, right, okay, well, come here and I'll play you in your best position in League One. You'll kind of rip it up.
From what I've heard as well, he's got the right personality to be able to deal with the pressure of playing for a bigger club. So it's one of them signings. When we bought him, I'd heard of him. You know, you kind of know of people's qualities from just, you know, seeing them play and stuff. But it was more he's got a bit of a shithouse in him, isn't he? And I think he's got confidence. So I think he's not going to shirk away from it. I think if he has a couple of bad games or he has half a bad game, I think you'll see him gritting his teeth and knuckling down, which I think, again, is something massively we've been missing. You know, you talk about goals and you talk about the season, the part of the season last season where we had that run of games where we could have just done with a goal here and there. There were 5, 6, 7 players really gritting their teeth and going for it, but there were so many players and so many subs that were coming on that just didn't look like they wanted to be there, man. So I think every signing right now, it sounds a bit football managery to think about it, but we need to assess them mentally. We need to think that they're going to be up for this, because I think some of the signings in the past we've made, without kind of, if you take a complete neutral look at it, without even, thinking of Tony Coton and Richard Hill or whoever it was that was bringing these players in, some of them had pure talent, really good talent, but were not made for this club and were not made for the challenge that Sunderland were trying to sort of give them, basically. And you look at like Kaz Sterling a couple of seasons ago. Like, he had some raw talent. You look at Ashley Fletcher, people like that, they're just not mentally ready for the timing that they come in and then they thrive. Well, Kaz Sterling's maybe not thrived, but Ashley Fletcher's done all right this season. And other players have come in and done all right the next season after just really struggling. I just think that we need players. We've gone past the point of pandering to them. I think there's no chance we're going to be able to do that now. Parky doesn't seem like the kind of person to sort of make it about the players. He's kind of not a taskmaster, but it's more he buys the player for the personality. I think he's got an eye on a personality, and I think that's probably why he doesn't rate Grigg. You look at Grigg and you look at his body language and whether he gives a shit. And frankly, I think Parky sussed him out within 5 minutes that he's going to be third, fourth choice as long as we've got strikers on the table. So we'll see what happens with Aidan Brown.
It's interesting though. I mean, actually, I might quiz you on this, Brett. But actually, one of the things that worried us I think it was the ROKER Report interview with Millwall fanzine, I think it was. And one thing that worried us in that, where he said, I think actually he had the concern, and he said, I don't know how he'll settle because he's a real Londoner. And I thought,
I don't know why this is aimed at me.
well, because you're south of Watford Gap, aren't you? That's all London. Yeah, so that's one thing that worries us. I'm not sure how we'll settle up here. We'll see.
To be fair though, this story of people not being able to settle, it's ridiculous in my eyes. It's not like you're moving to Australia or something like that. You can get to London to Sunderland in about 4 hours if the road's kind to you. It's not a and also you're also friendly up there as well compared to the cold grey London streets, as I hear so often. So it's everyone's really welcoming.
Paved with gold. I thought they were all paved with gold.
No, let's say it's not. I think it's not like say it's a million miles away. It's you can still keep in touch with people. People can come and visit if it's that big an issue. But there's players from all over the country who plays in that team at the moment. So it's not like just because he's a London boy, it's going to be a problem. Don't make something out of it that it's not.
Yeah, I think the league is the big thing, the big factor in this. Hopefully, because I think back to the days when Peter Reid was doing really well, and he made a big thing about the fact that we couldn't progress. One of the reasons we couldn't progress, among other reasons, was that we couldn't attract some of the players that we were in line for to take that next step. Other managers since have said the same. We were linked with all sorts of players during lots of different reigns in the sort of 2000s and in the 10s and what have you, when we were up there in the Premier League and there was money flying about and there was all sorts. You were hearing all sorts. Look, they just didn't want to move up there. They wanted to be in a bigger city, despite the fact that they could live in Newcastle, which is a decent city, I guess, but who would want to live there? But yeah, it was one of them things. I don't think League One's going to promote that kind of personality, is it? Surely not. Surely they just want to win football games in League One and progress their careers and do well. Am I being really naive? I don't know whether.
No, if someone's playing well and scoring goals, he could live on Pluto. We won't mind. Moving on from there, so our new home kit made by Nike in inverted commas on this one. So now the reason I do that, I'll come to it in a second actually, because guys, what are your initial thoughts on seeing the kit on Friday? John, were you pleased? Were you not? How did you think of it?
I like it. I thought it was a refreshing change. I think it was one of the better ones we've had over the last few years. I like Adidas. I'm one of the rare people who likes Adidas as a brand. I've got quite a lot of Adidas stuff, but Adidas don't make great kits and haven't made great kits with us for a while. So I was up for the change anyway, and I was interested to see what they do with it. I didn't have an opinion here or there about what they should do with it. So when I saw it, I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised. It was good. I like it. Yeah, that's all I'll say for now.
I've seen Chris with his eyebrows raised at the moment, so I'll let Chris go next.
No, I agree with John. I mean, for me though, home Sunderland strips I mean, there's only so many ways you can do red and white stripe.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is, there's very few ways we can screw it up, but we did find a way a few seasons ago in the Championship, which was the worst home kit.
Yeah.
Those small stripes. I mean, that looked like a deck chair, and it was a relegation strip. And what happened? We got relegated. But I like it. I mean, home strips are always a bit nah for me because they usually it's another form of red and white, and it's another form of red and white. It's okay. It's a Sunderland. It looks like a Sunderland strip. It feels like a Sunderland strip. That'll do for me.
It is okay. It is okay. I'd say I have the very firm belief that our kits peaked in 1992. I am very much, and I'll never be. My mind will never be changed on this. It's a red collar. It's a red and white striped sleeves. It's red and white stripes all over. That'll do me. But one thing that I've noticed online today, and a few of us noticed it, is in the junior kits have actually come out, and for £25 English, you can buy your child a Sunderland shirt with a iron-on badge, no Nike swoosh on the shirt, and the shorts itself don't have a badge or a swoosh or a tick on them either. And then very conveniently tucked away at the back is actually, it said it's made by Avec. For those who remember to be fair, not a bad kit maker, I didn't think.
It's a good kit, yeah.
the Midnight, so they had some absolute crackers. The yellow one was a very firm favourite of mine growing up. So yeah, it's all a bit odd. What this sort of deal is, we were sort of promised bespoke kits at the start, and you can pick up a very, very similar shirt online for about £20 without the badge on it through a company sort of making them.
Pro Direct.
Pro Direct. That's it. Pro Direct.
Just Sport. I thought it was
Just Sport. That's it. Sorry. Sorry. Just Sport as opposed to Night Direct. No, it's common for a lot of lower league teams. It just seems to be one of those, another things to sort of beat the club with, beat the owners with. We sort of were promised the world, but hasn't quite delivered. I don't know if you've got. Yeah. I say it's a kit. Are you bothered? Does it matter?
I'm not bothered because it means that I don't want to buy one for my daughter because it's horrible. So I can save that money, because believe it or not, the last one looked really nice as a baby kit. But now she's getting bigger, I think I'll leave it and she can grow into the one she's got a bit more. No, I think it's definitely very tin pot. It's definitely very League One that we're buying it from somebody else. I think the thing that most annoyed me about this whole Nike arrangement thing was the training top and the training kit. That looks really nice, the training kit. When that came out,
it does look really smart. It looks smart.
And do you know what? It was so annoying when you can find the exact same thing for half the price, and it's just not got a badge on it. So you're basically paying £26 for a badge.
For an iron-on badge. Now, I'd say, but there'll be people listening here right now going, why are you moaning about this? If you don't like it, don't buy it. That's what football teams do.
Yeah, I'm not buying them.
We do get it.
Don't worry, Stuart, I'm not buying your top, Stuart. I'm not buying it. Don't try and charge me double, Stuart Donald.
I had to mention it. I had to mention it. Also, we have had a very quick snapshot of what the away shirt's going to look like.
Have we?
Yeah.
You may have seen it was leaked online. Aidan O'Brien standing in a navy shirt with a red collar.
I didn't like that.
Yeah,
it's
all
all
right.
right.
Is it?
It's all right.
I think it would have been all right if it wasn't for the collar.
Yeah.
I think the collar just looks like it's stitched on and looks a bit weird shaped. And I think maybe I'm a bit pedantic, but it looks a lot like I can't remember what year it was, but we had a very similar bluey greeny kit before, a new way kit, and we had an Avec.
One of the Avec kits was like
the Avec
it was like a
like
a tealy sort of greeny blue with a red colour.
Yeah.
It just looks weird. It just looks weird.
I don't mind it. I think it looks all right. I mean, it's not. I don't know if you've seen Newcastle's release today. It's
better than that.
One's lime and one's purple. But no, it could have been a lot worse than that. I mean, it's horrific. I mean, just on the kid strips, the issue with me is, I mean, if they're going to do that, absolutely fine. Third season in League One, we have to cut corners or do whatever it takes, but reflected in the price. You know what I mean? Don't charge £30 for a tin point fake thing you could probably buy at the market for a £5. You know what I mean? What's the point? And the thing that really bugs me was I remember right at the beginning, well, probably another one, but to add to the list, but Stuart Donald, when, right at the beginning when he was geeing everyone up and we were asking him questions about, what he was going to do with the club, and he was asked about strips because we said, look, we've had Adidas for this long and that championship one I think turned everyone off. Could we have something really kind of special and ask the fans and all this sort of stuff? And he was like, yeah, we'll look at all these ideas. And then, he just signs a deal with fake Nike, and then we end up with what we end up with. I mean, they're not horrific or anything. It's just
they're not bad kits. They're not bad kits, and they'll do for us.
Yeah. I don't mind them. I'm not someone who'll go out and buy them, but when we're playing and I see them, we don't look too bad.
Well, coming up next on Fashion with Gok Wan, it's it's playing away. Right then, so you may remember this from last season. We play a game after at the end of every show. Basically, the lads have to pick the starting 11 from a match that's normally played around the same sort of time as the pod goes out. They have 2 lives. If they get a sub, they get to go again. They don't lose a life. And then it's basically the last man standing. So we've got 2, obviously only you 2 doing it this week. And because it's of that pre-season sort of time, I thought I'd pick a game that's pre-season. Carl, can you believe this scoreline? Borussia Dortmund 1, Sunderland 1, from Friday the 6th of August 2016. To give you a bit of a clue, we are wearing our Adidas Adidas away kit with the sort of like the navy or the blue sash down the middle, or down like from one end to the other. Daffabet is our sponsor. Oh. Our manager is David Moyes. Oh. Wonder what he did as manager. We drew 1-1. So I can both see. The great thing is now that we're using a Skype call, I can actually see now your reactions and the dread of like every word I say. Another clue was this was played in Austria in front of about 5,000 people.
I don't even remember that kit. Well, I can remember it sort of.
It was the same season. It's the season that we had the pink and blue, pink and purple one.
Oh yeah.
It was it was that season.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Chris, would you like to go first?
Thanks, Brett. Thanks for making Chris go first.
Well, it's got to be the keepers, isn't it? Jordan Pickford.
Jordan Pickford was playing, but he came on as a sub.
So what does that mean again? It's been that long.
So you got to go again.
So you get to go again.
Well, it's got to be the other one. It's got to be Vito Manone.
Vito Manone, correct.
Right. If I think of who Manone would have in front of him around that time, I'm going to go with an easy one, hopefully. John O'Shea.
John O'Shea started that game.
Oof, thank God for that.
Goes back to Chris.
Lee Catmull.
Lee Catmull started that game. Straight back to John.
How many lives do you get? 2.
You get 2.
I'm going to take a risk because I've got a few that I think I know for sure. I'm going to take a risk to chuck one out there now. I'm going to say Duncan Watmore.
Duncan Watmore started.
Yay! Get in there.
So Borussia Dortmund 1, Sunderland 1, 2016.
Stop saying that.
I could probably name. I could probably name about a handful of their players, to be honest. I think from that time.
I'm going to go. We have had O'Shea. I'm going to go Kone.
Kone played and he scored.
Never in the world.
Oh, Jesus. You mean he actually ran really fast and did something good?
Well, he scored 2 against Everton like a couple of months before, didn't he?
Yeah. God, we must have gone to this game with such like optimism and thinking this is going to be our season. It's where did it all go wrong?
Really? Did you actually think that?
I must admit, this haunts me every single day. The anniversary that David Moyes got the job, I've got, you know, like on Facebook, you get your memories for the year, like the years. It comes up every single year, and it's saying like, oh, you know, I'm pleased with that. He can work, you know, continue Big Sam's good work. It's just, it's embarrassing, you know. Oh, we'll finally get that mid-table mediocrity we always wanted. Yeah, in the fucking League One. Right, John, you're up.
I'll go with Paddy Van Aanholt.
He's there.
He
started next on my list.
I thought it was the next season or something when he wasn't there.
So we've had Vito Manone, John O'Shea, Patrick Van Aanholt, Lee Catmull, Kone, Watmore, and Jordan Pickford was on the bench.
We've had Watmore.
Yeah, I said Watmore.
Didn't hear Watmore.
I said Watmore, Chris.
Didn't hear Watmore.
One of the few times he wasn't injured, I think.
I will go for Fabio Barini.
Oh, I was going to say him.
Right. Barini did start, yeah.
He did. He
He
started.
did start,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Sorry, I couldn't find his name there. He did start.
Oh,
There's loads of subs.
Yeah, I thought I'd gone ahead then. I thought he'd cocked it. How many's left?
Right, so you've got 1, 2, 3. You've got 4 players left who started. So you've had
Right, so we've had Barini, we've had Catamol, we've had Watmore, Kazri, Wabi Kazri.
He's there.
Oh, thank God for that.
We're not out, Casri. Crossed out.
He's there. He came off in the 46th minute. So you've got 3 left who started that day.
What do we do if we get through these?
I'll be impressed.
What?
Have we got to do the subs?
Now, this pod's gone on for ages. We just knock it on the head.
Yeah.
And Dong had just signed. I'll go for Dong.
And Dong, I don't actually think he had signed yet at that
he
point.
not?
I think he was he a deadline day signing? And Dong, he wasn't. He's not playing here anyway. So
Way!
Chris loses
Life
his life.
gone, Chris. Oh, if I beat Chris here,
this
man,
is
I'm getting nervous.
This is a bit recent.
I'm actually getting
because the thing is, this season as well, I'm actually going to try and keep like hold of the scores this time and actually remember it because I just literally like after about 3 weeks last time I forgot them. So I might actually keep a score.
I just hope this pod goes out if I do actually win because this is just like mental. Like I'm normally so poor at these, and Chris is normally the oracle of everything.
No,
I hope it I hope that John loses and it still goes out.
Yeah, I'm egging it on now. I'm gonna lose. I know I'm gonna lose. Who would have been the other centre midfielder then if Dong wasn't there? It's pre-season, isn't it? So it might have been a young player. 2016.
Gonna have to rush you, John.
I'll go with Embleton.
Embleton came on, he didn't start, so you get another go.
Oh, Jesus. He must have been young.
He came on for Lee Catamol.
In that case, right, it's good. Oh, I can't believe I've forgotten. I'm glad I've forgotten. I've clearly compartmentalised it. It was Jack Rodwell, wasn't it, in the centre mid?
Jack Rodwell is one of them.
Yeah. Oh,
Jack Rodwell. What a twat.
Playing against Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah. So you got 2 left from the team.
from the 11, yeah.
Yeah, 2 left from the 11. Would be hilarious if all of them was like a trialist.
What?
Can't think of any.
A trialist.
A trialist.
Andy Trialist.
Don't know, I'm struggling now. You've picked the squad that we all try to wipe from our memories.
I don't know. I quite like this squad.
I could have picked the championship squad if I'm honest.
This squad for me is like the one that on paper was mint, but like just didn't.
This is the squad. This is the team that relegated the Mags.
Yeah.
This is pretty much that whole team. In fact, I think it's I don't think there's any new players there actually.
Go for another young'un because John mentioned them. Honeyman.
On the bench and came on. You're missing a absolute. One of them's really obvious.
Cheers, mate.
No, when I say one of them, you're like, oh really? You know,
Is one of them really difficult then? Yeah.
one of them's harder than the other one.
You've got such a poker face. I never want to play poker against you.
One of them's a big player.
I love that we're videoing these now. This is brilliant.
I think I've got the big player.
Going to go for.
He's making notes here, look.
I'm deciding between two.
Pick one of them.
I know.
Stop drawing penises.
I'm gonna go for Jermaine Lance.
That was the harder out the two.
Was
it?
I thought it was.
Oh, I'd have gone with that.
Oh, it might be the
Lens
other one.
in.
It might be the other one then.
Lens is in.
So I think we're missing a right back if I've worked it out.
I've been racking my brains about a right back, but
It wasn't Bardsley because I think he'd gone.
my other one.
So your team as it stands is Manone, O'Shea, Van Arnholt, Catamol, Kone, Barini, Rodwell, Watmore, Lens, Kazri.
I think I've got it. But it's a big risk.
I
think it's because we didn't really have right backs, so I think he was playing right back and he's not a right back by trade as such.
Go on then, let's hear it.
I'm gonna go with Yunus Kabul.
John takes it.
Oh yes. Unbelievable.
Yunus Kabul
I wouldn't again.
makes the 11. You also had on the bench that day, you had Josh Robertson came on, Honeyman we said, Reece Greenwood, Lyndon Gooch came on, and Joel Azoro.
Did you do that without losing a life there, John?
Yeah.
He did?
Wow.
I'm quite impressed with that.
No, mate.
I only got one sub and all. You got two.
I wouldn't have gotten that. My other one was Gillabodji.
Gillabodji.
He signed that summer.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think he couldn't play for a bit though, could he? Was it something to do with his registration or something? I think.
Yeah. Well,
just been garbage.
Yeah.
Well then, gents, that is our first Exiles pod done for the season. Our first playing away done. John is on the leaderboard at the
I'm
top.
just happy I didn't get beat. I'm just happy I didn't get absolutely destroyed. I was so nervous thinking Chris was going to make me look stupid. And luckily it was a game I remembered.
Anything.
Or a time I remembered. I didn't remember the game. I didn't watch the game.
Anything not over 20 years ago, I'm struggling.
Yeah, sorry about that, mate. I'll make sure I get some 90s ones next time you're on. But no, John, been great speaking to you. Thank you for coming on board.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. It's been lovely and quite cathartic to talk a little bit about the future. But let's just stay positive, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, I said this morning I wanted a positive pod and most of it negative about everything.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Chris, pleasure as always, mate. Good talking to you.
Always a pleasure, Brett. Cheers, John.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much for listening. So the Exiles are back up and running for this season. We'll be back very soon. Catch you later.